All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. This is Diane Sears. I'm with Go for the Greens. I'm the co-founder and I'm your moderator today. I want to welcome you all to our big event. This is our, I believe, 8th Wednesday webinar. We've been doing these since April 8th to try to keep helping women business owners and our corporate friends and also our nonprofit friends keep commerce going during COVID-19. So we're happy you're here and we're really excited about our guest today. With that, I want to tell you a little bit about Go for the Greens in case you're new, and then I'll pass it over to my co-founder, Cindy Chase. So Go for the Greens was founded on 3 pillars. The reason we named it Go for the Greens is because we talk about business growth for women business owners. We teach women business owners about sustainability, about how to incorporate that into their business practices and why it's important, especially now because corporations are looking for that. And then we also teach women how to use golf as a business tool. And that's one of our favorite things. It's very fun. And then we've introduced a 4th pillar, and that's for our green young people who are just getting into careers. They're in high school and college, and we're training them and helping them decide what to do with their lives. And it's been really fun. Our mentorship program has really taken off. We've had a whole series of webinars just like this one every Thursday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you have any daughters or young people in your lives who would like to join that, just ask us and we can tell you how. That's also in the invitation that we send out. So again, I'm Diane Sears, and thanks for being here. I'd like to turn it over to Cindy Chase, my co-founder with Go for the Greens.
Hey, thanks, Diane, and thank you everybody for taking the time to be on these webinars. And again, as Diane said, if this is your first time, welcome. For those of you that continue to come back, congratulations for continuing to make yourself more successful than you already are by listening to such dynamic speakers like the one we have today, Nancy Allen. I have the privilege of working with Nancy for quite some time, and all the time I listen to her, I learn a little bit more myself every day. So welcome once again. I will go off the video here for a little bit, but before I do, I just want to let everybody know that right now, Go for the Greens, if you've got the opportunity, take a look at the website. You're going to see a lot of new activity that's going to be posted to our website. Because as of right now, we're trying to move forward with a hybrid event that'll take place September 24th through 26th at Walt Disney World, just like we've done always in the past. It's going to look a little bit different this year, and I don't want to spoil the surprises, but for those of you that can't attend, it will be live streamed and videoed. And for those of you that are safe and feel comfortable with traveling, we will have people there on property, and we are taking hotel reservations right now. And I feel very confident that, you know, working and being a partner with Disney, if there's any institution that's going to make it be safe, I feel very comfortable with Disney, and we're getting coached and advised by what they're going to be doing. So just stay tuned. I don't want to do any spoiler alerts. So thank you very much. Continue with your success. And if there's anything that Go for the Greens can do to make you be more successful than you already are, please let us know. We're here to help you and see you in the future. So I'm going to go dark right now, and everybody have a great seminar. And thank you, Diane, and thank you, Nancy.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy. And now I'd like to turn it over to Nancy to make some announcements before she begins her presentation. So Nancy, if you would help us out.
Yes. I just want to say thank you to both you and Cindy, Diane, for always including WBENC and WBENC Florida in all of the Go for the Greens activities. Our partnership is almost 11 plus years old and growing strong. For those of you that are WBENC certified, please be on the lookout for the WBENC pitch competition. If you don't know about it, go to the WBENC website. They've got lots of information, and also just check your emails. We've been sending information out. The great news about the WBENC pitch competition is that there's $100,000 in prize money on the line for the top 5 pitches, and it's going to be done in 2 segments. The first, everybody who applies and is WBENC certified is going to have an opportunity to do a 90-second pitch. and there's going to be some general voting. And then there will be judging of the final 10 pitches. I think it's 10 pitches. And that's where the prize money comes. So be on the lookout for that. It's a great way to showcase how you've been able to pivot your company with some innovative ideas. All right.
All right. Thanks, Nancy. That's pretty exciting, actually. So, all right. Well, so for now, we'd like to introduce Nancy formally. Nancy is one of my dear friends and has been the CEO of the Women's Business Enterprise Council of Florida. It's changed names a couple of times as the times change. But she's been there in Miami for, has it been 25 years, Nancy, or 26?
Yeah, just about 25 years, yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. And so, so she is the person we all go to when we need any help figuring out how to become certified and also how to use our certifications because that's really important. You know, getting that piece of paper and that document is important, but knowing how to use it is even more. And so that's what this session is all about today, is preparing everyone for those all-important meetings with the corporations and government agencies. So with that, Nancy, I'm going to turn it over to you for the presentation.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if it works out. Share.
And
Can
while
you
Nancy,
see?
we
Can you all
can.
see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the slideshow mode from the beginning. Okay, so we're going to spend the next half hour or so talking about ways to prepare for a matchmaker meeting. And this is one of my favorite presentations that I do because it's such an opportunity to grow your business by actually applying for and getting selected for matchmaker meetings. So let me go on in the welcome and introductions part. You heard a little bit about me, so I'm going to invite you to use the chat box to tell us about yourself, your name, your business name, how long you've been in business. I think there are about 40 people on this call, if not more. And what better way to start networking than to introduce yourself? I will share with everyone that I am one of the luckiest women in the world, I believe, because I get to live my personal motto on a daily basis. So my personal motto is connections, creativity, and courage in all things. And doing webinars and workshops like this has, you know, that connections component, right? So I get to, on a daily basis, connect women business owners to other women business owners and to partners and resources like like the Go for the Greens Foundation that help you to grow your business.
Nancy,
Yes?
I want to make sure that the slides are advancing. So if you look at the bottom of the slide and push the arrow kind of at the bottom of the slide.
Yeah.
Can you see that? Are you on the first slide or the second?
I'm on the second slide now.
Yeah. No, go ahead and try it again.
It didn't switch over to slideshow view. It's still on.
It didn't. Okay.
That's the reason. Okay.
All right. So what should I do?
Can you click slideshow at the top?
Yeah, she did before, but it didn't take. I think because that enable editing thing popped up, but it stopped it from switching over.
So, wait, are you seeing my screen now?
We're just seeing the first slide.
Maybe click enable editing.
Yeah, click that, and then click
Now slideshow.
from beginning.
From
There you
beginning.
go.
Okay.
Yay!
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Linda.
for that.
Thanks, Joanna.
Okay. All right. So I'll move on to. Are you all seeing a third slide now that says people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. So a matchmaker gives you an opportunity to build a relationship that can eventually turn into a contract. And as you prepare for a matchmaker and you go into a matchmaker, that's what you should really focus on, is that word opportunity, right? So you really go into this thinking, okay, this is a way for me to build a relationship. If you go into a matchmaker meeting thinking you're going to get a contract, I'm afraid to tell you that you will be sorely disappointed, because that doesn't happen very often, that, you know, based on one matchmaker, you immediately sign a contract. It's about a relationship. And the great thing about these events is now with the matchmaker meeting, you'll have an opportunity to make an impression with someone in the corporation that can become your advocate. All right. So I'm going to go over 10 tips to help you impress the corporate representative. The first tip is doing research. So I always encourage people that you really need to Google the company. And I like to share this anecdote. One time I was doing a workshop and I mentioned, to someone who was preparing for a matchmaker, I said, have you Googled the corporate rep? And she said, no, I would never do that. That's an invasion of privacy. And so I said to her, no, if it's on Google, it's really not private. And you can get a lot of information about the person that you're going to meet with by just, doing a Google search. And it turns out that this particular person was from, I believe Delaware. And the person she was meeting with was also from Delaware. And so we decided with that information that she'd be able to kind of work that into the conversation as she was introducing her company, that, she's based in Delaware. She'd been there for 25 years. And she said the corporate representative's eyes lighted up and he said, oh, I'm from Delaware. And it turns out they were just, from neighboring towns. So imagine the connection that you're able to make with something as personal. So you want to Google the company because you want to model your language and your presentation to their language. And also just refer to the fact that I Googled the company. I went on your website and I see that you have an XYZ initiative. I see that you're interested in, leadership development. I'm a leadership training coach and I have this to offer your company. Also using LinkedIn is really important. Look to see if you have any personal connections. I suggest also on LinkedIn that you start following the corporation that you're going to be meeting with, because you get lots of information from them, the articles they share, the information they share. You can use all of that as research to your advantage. And then finally, signing up for corporate media releases. On most corporate websites, you can sign up so that you will immediately receive what they're sending out, their press releases and information that they're sending out to the public. That keeps you abreast of what they're doing and how you can position yourself with them. People love the fact that you know about them. It shows that you're interested, and it also shows that you're going to be intentional when you're meeting with them. All right. So tip number 2 is about your pitch. So generally, a matchmaker meeting is about 15 minutes long, and you want to build in some time for questions within those 15 minutes. Remember to pace yourself. You don't want to speak too fast. You don't want to speak too slow. You want to keep the pace going. And I like to say that usually, your pitch should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the beginning, you're just kind of setting yourself up, the company, what you do, how you do it. The middle part is where you want to concentrate and offer solutions to the person that you're meeting with. And then the end is kind of the wrap up, right? And keep in mind that it's really all about them. So what's in it for them should be your focus. And you can actually say to the corporate representative, I've done my research. I looked at your website. I read the articles, and I know that you're interested in blah, blah, blah. What I can offer as a solution to your company, to this leadership initiative that you have, or whatever it is, I can offer you very specifically savings, or I can give you, some ideas on a new initiative. So be very specific in your language to say, this is who I am, this is what my experience is, and this is what I can do for you. And I always encourage you to remember that people love to look good. Okay, so if you're meeting with someone and you offer an initiative, you offer something interesting that they can then take back to their team, it's going to make them look good. You're going to be really memorable in their eyes. Okay, pitch number three, number three is practice, right? You want to really practice your matchmaker meeting and the presentation that you're going to make, your pitch. You want to anticipate questions. And in that sense, you know, should you make your presentation and then all of a sudden when you have that, you know, the last 5 minutes or so where there could be some questions, if there aren't any questions for whatever reason, throw in some questions of your own. You can always say, you know, I'm often asked about, you state what it is you're asked about and then give the solution. And generally that will get the questions rolling. Mitigate nervousness. We're all nervous, and there is an expectation that you're going to be kind of nervous. And I always say, just say that. Sit down and instead of saying I'm nervous, say I'm excited. I'm excited to meet with you because, you know, your corporation has been on my target list for a number of years, and here's what I know about you, and here's what I can offer you as far as solutions. So own up to your nervousness, change it into excitement, and then just state it, and then it's out of your mind, right? And you want to talk about your accomplishments, and a lot of us have a really hard time talking about our accomplishments when it comes to business development and growth. So practice just saying out loud, I'm an award-winning author, I'm an award-winning speaker, my company has won awards for our innovative programs, you know, we're a leader, I'm considered an expert in this field, etc. Just practice saying that over and over, and it'll roll off your tongue much more easily when you're doing the 15-minute matchmaker. And if you have any questions or any nervousness about practicing, you can always call one of us. I know that Diane has helped a lot of people with their pitches, as have I. Call one of us and we can help you go over your pitch and help you practice. So tip number 4, remember that you can have more than one pitch. Your company does more than one thing. And you can refine your pitch, you can tweak your pitch based on who you're speaking with. So a tip to remember here is that in matchmaker meetings, you might be meeting with one of 2 people. One, you might be meeting with the head of supplier diversity for the corporation. Or you might be meeting with one of the contracts officers, a procurement officer. If you're meeting with the head of supplier diversity, and how are you going to find that out is generally you will be told who you're meeting with along with the time and the location. So you can do your research, Google that person, and you can see what is their title, right? If you're meeting with the head of supplier diversity or someone on the supplier diversity team, you want to be very careful to explain what you do in a way that's going to be memorable and easy to repeat, because that person, the head of supplier diversity or the person on the supplier diversity team, they translate that into how they can give you opportunities when opportunities come up with the procurement team. The supplier diversity team does not control the contracts. They're your advocate to make sure that you get an opportunity to bid on the contracts. Now, if you're meeting with someone who's on the procurement team or a contractor, they're more in line with your industry and your product. So you can speak more to them with the industry jargon, and you can establish a relationship with them where that might lead more directly to a contract because you're speaking to a contracts officer. Another thing to keep in mind when you're speaking with the supplier diversity team member is you can always tell them, generally, it's in this department that my type of work is looked at, or the contracts for the type of work that I do is out of human resources, or it's out of your marketing department. That helps, again, to refine how they're going to remember who you are and how they can help you. So you know, tip number 4 is really important. Remember that you can have more than one pitch. Number 5 is all about education. So you really want to set yourself up as an expert. And you know, what is it about your expertise? Years in service, are you the first who did this? Have you created some kind of a process? Set yourself up as an expert so that as you're building that relationship, they know that they can count on you if they need to have questions answered. Set yourself up as a resource also. What's in it for them is what's really important. At the matchmaker meetings, it's not all about you and your business. It's about how you and your business can make them look good, make the person across from you look good, and offer a solution. So what can you bring that will make them look good? That's really the important key when it comes to the education tip. Number 6 is body language. So right now it's a little bit more challenging because we're having these video conferences, and through Go for the Greens, we're setting up some video matchmaking opportunities. It's virtual matchmaking opportunities. So, but your body language is, you know, the tips I have here are basically the same, right? So you want to smile while you're making your presentation and introducing yourself. Your self-introduction, it has to be kind of tight. You don't want to take the majority of your 15 minutes talking about, you know, who you are and what you do. Remember, it's all about them. Eye contact is really key. So a trick with virtual meetings is you have to actually look at the camera when you're speaking. So I'm going to give you an example and see if you can pick up on this nuance. So right now I'm looking at the camera as I'm speaking to you. But if I shift my vision over here, because my screen shows me on the right-hand side of the screen, I'm not looking at you. So, you know, you want to establish rapport. And in the virtual world, the easiest way to do that is to just, as you're speaking, look directly in the camera. So that's going to help you with the eye contact tip. The other thing is to know when the meeting is over. Okay, in a matchmaker setting, it's 15 to 20 minutes long. You're probably going to get like a 2-minute warning. That's your cue to wrap things up. Okay, 15 minutes can go by very, very quickly, as it can go by very slowly. And you don't want to not get through your presentation, right? You want to be able to build into your 15 minutes enough time to get into your pitch and to leave, I'd say about, you know, 5 minutes for questions and answers, because that's where really the magic happens, right? That's where you're building that further rapport by offering solutions that the company can use. So know when the meeting is over, and then also honor when the meeting is over. When you get that 2-minute warning, start wrapping up, and then when they ring the bell or they come around and say, okay, this matchmaker session is over, just get up and say thank you. Okay, don't forget to say thank you. Don't try to keep talking, because that's not going to look good for you or for the person that you're meeting with, because they need to prepare for the next session. Okay, so body language is very important as a tip. Number 7 is ego. So I am going to share with you that, you know, if you're about my age, or if you're like me, your mom probably said, you know, it's not all about you. Stop talking about yourself. There's no need to brag. No one is interested. Well, you know, women, that's how we're socialized. Guys are socialized a bit differently. They're encouraged to talk about their accomplishments. We women, unfortunately, that's changing, thankfully. We're not encouraged to do that. So when it comes to talking about our accomplishments, a lot of us still have that, that voice in our head that says, stop bragging. But what you're really doing when you're highlighting your accomplishment is that you're making allies and believers. And the making allies and believers is really important as you are building a relationship, right? So the more you can connect, the more you show up as an expert, the better and more easily you'll be able to develop a connection with the person that you're meeting with. And I'll share where I got the Make Allies and Believers from. When the WBENC National Conference was in Orlando in 2012, I had been working for a whole year on getting this conference to Orlando and the speakers and the workshops. I was really, really involved in the event planning. And when the day finally came, time for the conference, I remember texting my husband. I was on my way to the hotel from the airport in Orlando, and I just sent him a text. I said, I've arrived safely, and I'll call you tonight. And he wrote back, good luck, make allies and believers. And let me tell you, that just took completely the edge of nervousness off of me. Part of my role as the host counsel was to be on stage 3 or 4 times in front of 3,000 to 4,000 people. And I was especially nervous about that because we were using a teleprompter and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to match the timing. It was just those are the things I was nervous about. Then when Joe sent me this note, it really took the edge off because I know I'm really good at making allies and believers. And so are you. You know your business. You know what it takes to run your business. You know the passion that you put behind your business. You know what your successes are. You know what the solutions are. So consider that the Matchmaker meetings are a step to build a relationship, to make allies. Remember, I mentioned that the supplier diversity team is there to be your ally. And believers, find a way to make the person that you're meeting with believe that you really are who you say you are. You're a successful businesswoman with some great ideas and solutions that you can provide. So that's tip number 7, let go of the ego. Number 8 is what to bring. So, in the virtual world, you don't have to bring these things. And I think with some meetings, you're able to share your screen, kind of like I did with this. So you want to practice so what happened to me doesn't happen to you during the sharing of the screens. So you might be able to share your screen that would, take them to your website or show off a mini presentation. You want to ask permission to do that before you do. But if you're doing an in-person matchmaker, then you definitely want to bring your laptop. You want to bring collateral materials, and keep in mind that whenever you hand someone a document, they're going to stop listening to you and they're going to read that document. Okay, it happens to the best of us. We get curious, we see the paper, we want to flip over the paper. So always have what you're going to give to the person you're meeting with, have a copy yourself, and then take advantage of their distraction to looking at that copy to just walk them through the copy, right? It will help with the timing of your matchmaker presentation, your pitch presentation, if while you give them something and you kind of walk them through it. Capability statements are key. And we did a webinar recently about capability statements, but I'm happy to help you with your capability statements. The thing here to remember, it's 1 page. It can be front and back, but no more than 1 page. And don't load it up with information because, as I said, somebody's going to start reading and they're going to get overwhelmed with all the information, and it's not going to work out to your benefit. And you can have more than one capability statement. So depending on who you're meeting with, for example, again, if you're meeting with the supplier diversity team, have more of a generic capability statement. If you know you're meeting with the procurement officer and you're in a very technical industry, you can tailor your capability statement to be a bit more technical with the jargon and that sort of information. As far as leave behinds are concerned, you have to be really careful with the leave behinds, right? A, they're kind of expensive. B, if it has anything to do with paper, like, you know, a really nice brochure or a nice presentation. I hate to say this to you ladies, but that's going to get left behind. It's not going to go to the office with them. When you're at these conferences, there's so much stuff that's available to take home that, you know, people are trying to cram things into their suitcases, and generally the paperwork just gets tossed. So you don't want to spend money on very slick brochures and information presentations because they're not going to get taken home. The best thing is that one-page capability statement, because it is one page, and it'll have, you know, your picture on it, and the person who receives that capability statement will be remembering who you are based on, you know, that visual of your picture. I always suggest if you have something interesting that has your brand on it, by all means, you know, leave that behind. Pens, everybody always uses pens, always needs pens. So if you have a really nice pen with your name on it, you can leave that behind. Or you know, you can contact some of the many WBEs we have in the promotional items world to see what they have that you can use for branding. But it's always nice to have a little something to leave behind. Not a huge something, because corporations have rules and regulations as to how much and what price of item they can receive without it, you know, being a compromise. So be wary of that. But yes, you can always leave a branded piece behind. Tip number 8, what to wear. So, you know, most of the conferences we're attending these days, it's business casual, right? And I have a note here about comfortable shoes, and that's because in the WBENC world and also with Go for the Greens, there's so much going on that we are on our feet for 8 to 10 hours. And so you really want to be careful to be wearing some very comfortable shoes so that you're not, you know, making a presentation, trying to meet with someone, doing some networking, and, you know, your feet are killing you. So you do want to be careful about that. And then as far as your logo and branding, it is very appropriate for you to have the matchmaker meeting with your logo, you know, a shirt or a dress with your logo on it. It's easy to remember, especially if it's a nice shirt in a bright color. It's all about your branding, and you can take advantage of yourself walking around as your brand, right? And your team members the same as well. It doesn't have to be very formal what you wear. And again, do your research and see what does the corporate culture look like, right? So you do want to be very attentive to that. So if you're meeting with someone that's in a very formal culture, you want to dress a bit more formally. If you're meeting with someone that's in, you know, more casual, creative culture, then you're okay wearing something more casual and creative. So do your homework, and don't forget that you can use your logo for branding. And then tip number 10 is anticipate and answer, right? So anticipate and answer questions. Anticipate and answer, you know, you can just say, sometimes when I make these presentations, I'm asked, how do I do this, or that, right? Or I'm sometimes asked, what is the best solution I've ever provided for someone? And you can then start the conversation, right? Sometimes there is that awkward silence, and don't take that personally. Don't feel bad. Don't, get upset over the awkward silence. You just speak up and say, I made my presentation and I appreciate that you took the time to listen. Do you have any questions? And if there's that awkward silence, and that point you can say, well, I'm often asked about this or that. You can also, during the question and answer period, talk about trends, right? So you've been in your business for a number of years. You know what the trends are, right? And you can make the person look really good by saying, I've been doing some research and it looks like in this industry, this is what's going to be happening. And I'm in a good position to help you with that because I've done the research. I wrote a white paper on this. I've made a presentation about it. And then, you bring in you as the solution provider. And that's all about your expertise, right? What is it that you can bring that is going to make their life easier? What solutions can you bring? And if it has to do with something other than your industry, say that, right? Say that, I understand that you might not need exactly what I'm offering right now, but I do have connections with XYZ. And I'll share with you one of my friends, Blanca Robinson, one time went into a matchmaker situation and there had been some miscommunication. And so she introduced herself. And as she started her presentation, the person across from her said, I think there's a mistake. I'm not looking for training and the type of consulting that Blanca had to offer. She said, I'm looking for someone who can help me with my website. And so Blanca said, oh, well, that's not me, but we're both here. We have 15 minutes. Would you mind if I just told you a little bit about what I do? And I did go on your website and I did see some areas where I might be able to provide you with some training. And they had a lovely conversation, and that turned into Blanca being introduced to the HR department. So always be prepared to take advantage of a situation, right? And miscommunication happens. She was supposed to meet with someone else, not Blanca. Blanca's name got sent to her. But in any case, Blanca made the most of it, and the corporate representative really appreciated it because the way Blanca pitched her product, her service, the corporate representative saw that there definitely was a need within her corporation for that service. So try to be as memorable as possible if, a mistake happens. All right. So another tip is to say thank you. Right? Everyone wants you everyone appreciates being told thank you. Thank you for spending 15 minutes with me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present to you, to talk to you about my passion and my business and what it is I can bring as solutions. Even if there is no contract, now you have an ally. Right? And so that's the key is to create an ally within the corporation. Okay, follow up. Be careful to not be considered a stalker. Okay, and there's a very fine line between persistence and being a pest. So another way to end a meeting is to say, I'd like to follow up with you. What's the best way to reach you? And very often they'll give you an email that's not just the generic, supplier diversity email. And follow up. Just send a note saying thank you. I'm a big believer in handwritten notes. So I always suggest that you send a handwritten note. And you can just include your business card in that note. Say, it was lovely to meet you. I really appreciate the time that we had together. And if there was an unanswered question, if they asked you something that you didn't know the direct answer to, or you told them, let me do a little more research, here is an opportunity again to make a really good impression. And again, remember that you really want to be building a relationship first. That's the key. All right, so here's the recap of what we've talked about. Here are the 10 tips. You want to do your research. You want to prepare your pitch. Remember that practice makes perfect. You want to have more than just one pitch, depending on who you're speaking with. It's all about educating, so set yourself up as the expert. Remember about ego and bragging. It's not bragging, it's, again, educating and informing and setting yourself up as an expert. We talked about what to bring. We talked about what to wear. And then we also talked about anticipating and answering questions. Okay, and this is one of my favorite quotes. It's attributed to Oprah Winfrey. It says, "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity." So I wish you luck in your matchmaker meetings. And of course, I know that you're going to be absolutely prepared. Okay, so I think we have some time for questions.
Oh, that's very good, Nancy. Let's see, we definitely had some questions come in. This is Diane again. We had some questions come in. One is by Dell at Urban E-Recycling. She was saying, is it all right to ask them questions? So I think when she was going back to when you were talking with the supplier diversity people, can you ask them questions?
Yeah, yes, it is a good idea to ask them questions. It's a horrible idea, though, to ask them what they need, okay? Because they anticipate that you've done the research and you know what they need. We've been told many times that the worst thing a WB can do is to say, I provide this, this, and that. What is it that you need? Or tell me what you need and I know I can provide it, right? So do more research. And yes, you can ask clarifying questions. You can ask questions about, for example, who their prime contractor is. And you can just specifically say, I'm interested in second-tier opportunities. Can you introduce me to your prime contractor? Because I would love to help them make their supplier diversity requirement.
Do you want to explain that just a little bit? I think we have a couple minutes to go into the first tier and second tier, Nancy.
Sure. Yeah. So you know, depending on the company, sometimes they call it a prime contract, sometimes they call it a first tier contract. So again, do your research, right? But what happens most of the time, the prime contracts are very, very large. And those don't always go to, you know, diverse vendors, right? So a way for you to get into a corporation is by positioning yourself as a second tier supplier or vendor. Second tier means like a subcontract. So let's say that there's a large corporation that does construction. They have a contract with, I don't know, Moffitt Cancer Center to do a construction of a new hospital. You can position yourself as a second tier provider if you can help with the interior of that construction, right? So the interior design, the beds, the curtains, you know, whatever it is, as a subcontractor, you can come in. And many times the prime contractors don't meet the supplier diversity requirements. And so offering yourself as a second tier or even a third tier, which is a contract below a contract, right? Offering yourself as a second or a third tier contractor helps the supplier meet the supplier diversity requirements.
Oh, great. Thank you. All right. We had some questions around the materials that you leave behind with the folks you're interviewing with. One person asked, how about if you have a flash drive or a little stick with the info in it? Is that something people also throw away? Or
yeah, well, and that, thank you for bringing that up, whoever asked that question, because it used to be about 5 years ago, maybe a little longer, that we would encourage people to bring a jump drive, right? But now corporations, that's a risk for viruses. They will not allow their employees to bring any kind of jump drives or exterior things into the corporation. So no, do not bring that. It's going to get thrown away. Better to have your capability statement and then to ask for an email address so that you can follow up directly. And from the email, you can send further information, because then they have their firewalls and everything. But the jump drives are not accepted anymore.
Great idea. And Millie Herrera recommended that you load your capability statement and brochure onto your website, and then you can email them with links to those, and that way they're poking around on your website too. So that's really
that's a very good tip. Thank you, Millie. And you should definitely have your capability statement on your website, and it should be easy to find, because remember, your capability statement is like the resume of your business, right? So if somebody's looking through your website, they want more information from you, they find your capability statement, and there on one page is everything they really need to know, and then they can go do some further research. So great tip. Thanks for sharing that.
That's funny. And our friend Dell says it does sound like a lot like a job interview, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It really does. And sometimes I've had people say to me, it's like a first date, right? So yes, it is like a first date as well. You want to make a good impression. You don't want to overwhelm the person that you're speaking with, because remember, 15 minutes, right, is all you really have. But you want to leave enough information to create some interest, and then from the interest, you build the relationship.
I want to do a plug right now and talk about how with Go for the Greens, we are going to be doing some formal capability statements training through WBENC Florida. So Nancy and her team are providing that for us, and you guys will be putting out more information about that. But if you missed it, Nancy did another presentation for us during this Wednesday webinar series, and it is posted on our YouTube channel. And Nancy, it's also on the WBENC Florida website. So you can watch that all the way through, just like this one, and learn more about capability statements and see some examples too. Mm-hmm. And then we had another couple of, yes, we had another couple of questions. Let me get to these. Here's a really interesting one. What if you have a great first introductory meeting and the person goes silent, not answering phone messages or emails? This is from Marian Mathis. How can you build a relationship with someone who encouraged you to be in touch and then just doesn't respond?
Yeah, and that happens, unfortunately, very often. And when that happens, I would encourage you to contact your regional partner organization. If you're WBENC certified, my colleagues, there are 14 regional partner organizations of WBENC. And my colleagues who head these regional partner organizations, we all say the same thing. We know the corporates because we sit on the WBENC board, and we, for years have been interacting with a lot of these corporations. And so, I say try to reach out once, twice, maybe a third time. After that, contact me or contact your regional partner organization and say, I met this person at this event. They said they were interested. I left my capability statement. Attach your capability statement to the email you're sending me when you're contacting me. And they've gone kind of silent, and I'm not sure what to do. I am more than happy to try to reach out to them. And sometimes it's because they're overwhelmed with work. Sometimes it's because they sent your information to the procurement team and the procurement team hasn't done anything. And, they're kind of going back and forth with the procurement team. So use us as an ally to try to figure out what's happening. The worst thing you can do is to keep emailing them and say, I would really appreciate the courtesy of a reply. Or, this is the fourth time I'm emailing you and you haven't responded. Don't do that, because that, nobody likes to be reprimanded. And sometimes it really is out of their hands. And sometimes, people don't like to say no, or people don't like to say, I'm sorry, I thought I had an opportunity for you, but it turns out it didn't really work out. And then don't forget that people get moved a lot within corporations.
Yeah.
right? So it could be that they were in that position. They're really no longer in that position. And now, you know, you keep coming to them and it's just putting them, making them feel really awkward. And now it's too late for them to apologize because you've reprimanded them and, you know, they didn't answer you the first and second time. So use allies and connections to get into the door and to kind of figure out what's going on. Sometimes the person will come back to me and say, look, you know, our focus has changed. We thought that that was going to be an opportunity. They decided to renew the contract of the person who has it right now. And, you know, I just don't have anything for that WBE. So I'll tell you, this all changed. Okay, but let's put this on a tickler system. And let's see 6 months from now or a year from now if you can reach back out.
You know, and one thing that I wrote down, Nancy, is that when you're speaking with supplier diversity person, remember that they have to be able to repeat the pitch. So you have to make it easy. And if your pitch was really complicated and they kind of thought they understood it right then, you know, and then they don't understand it later, that's a kind of a sticky point too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We have something from Robin Pulford, who was the supplier diversity person with American Airlines before she retired last year. So hi, Robin. She says, understanding that a large corporation buyer role is not only to get the best deal, but to reduce risk. And that's why sometimes second tier opportunities are considered a better opportunity for first-time suppliers. So Nancy, you might want to address that.
Yeah, yes, and that's a very good point, and thank you for sharing that. So we have members who make millions of dollars as second tier providers, right? It's a really great way to leverage your entry into a corporation. And we've got many of our members who started out as second tier providers who become first tier. And really, you can position yourself as a second tier provider to get your foot in the door, not only with the corporation, but with the prime contractor, because the contract they have with XYZ Corporation is probably not the only contract they have. And if they weren't able to meet their supplier diversity requirements with this company, chances are with this other company, they might not. And so you have another opportunity to leverage. Use the fact that you are woman-owned, that you're minority-owned, that you're service-disabled owned, you know, whatever category can set you apart. And if you have more than one, by all means, get certified in as many different categories as you can. Use those to your advantage to say, I can help you fulfill these different categories for suppliers.
That's good. Thank you. So Nancy, if you want to unshare your screen, I can actually wave goodbye to you.
Yes. Let's see, stop share. Oops.
So I want to thank you so much for being here, and I want to thank everyone else for being on. Nancy, thank you for presenting.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Good. We look forward to doing a lot more work with you this year. And Cindy, do you have some parting words for us?
Yeah, just real quick before we shut out. Thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you all in the future. Just really stay tuned to the blast that you get from the marketing team, because within the next couple of weeks, from a corporate perspective for matchmaking and potential webinars, we've got some really good vendors that are going to be back on our webinars. I don't want to get ahead of the curve, but I think you'll see some marketing information, but we've got some really good vendors that will probably be also at Go for the Greens, but more importantly, we've got them teed up from a corporate conversation.
Some corporate partners, yes.
Starting next week.
Yes, we do. So we'll have some. So thank you, everyone, and we'll have more details on September as well. So thanks, and have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye,
Nancy.
everybody.
Bye, Cindy.